plenty for us to talk about anyway, isn't there?
Oh, Jesus.
While it cools.
It's been a while since we've had a rant, so let's
I know,
do it.
it's long overdue. Hello and welcome back to the Villa podcast. I'm here with my good friend Dan Morsman. How you doing, Dan?
Not so good this week, mate.
No, not so good. You know, we've spoke after losses and it's been sort of relatively positive. And I know I said in the preview I didn't expect us to get anything, but man, that was terrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, mate. I mean, you know, we said last week in the pod that we feared we were going to get rolled over, and so it proved. But you know, I kind of. When you go to these kind of games and you walk into Villa Park and you kind of think, you know, if I come out of this stadium later and I feel that we've lost purely because Leicester City were better at football than we are, then I take no problems because they're a better team than we are. The league table shows that by miles. You know that they're in every probably measurable aspect they're a better team than we are. But I didn't feel that. I walked out feeling that we'd made silly mistakes, that we'd let ourselves down, and that we actually could have prevented a few of the goals. I don't know what you think.
I feel like Leicester were the better team, but certainly the first 20 minutes it was a lot more even, and I mean we didn't really create anything after then, did we? And it was just frustrating. I mean, right from the get go, you've got Louise, you know, running to the byline and putting a cross in, which was a good block from Johnny Evans, but you can't help but we've got a back wedge scoring there. I know other people wouldn't, but. You know, if he scores that and then Anwar's chance where he hits the post, it's a different game. I think Leicester probably still go on and win, but it leaves them chasing the game a bit more because that opening 20 minutes when they were looking for the goal was when they were vulnerable and there was space to be exploited and it was a relatively end-to-end game for that part. You know, I wouldn't say we deserved something purely on that 20-minute basis, but if you keep that up for 90 minutes, you can't help but feel like there's going to be a goal or something in there for Villa, from whether it's a set piece or what. But you know, a fantastic goal from Jack it was. I mean, it took a few deflections on the way by the looks of it, but
all counts.
And I mean he's almost bettered his sort of best goal and assist scoring season, and we're only 16 games into a season. I mean that's remarkable, isn't it? Yeah,
he was, you know, that goal was probably the only positive you could take from the game, really. I thought Jack deserves some credit for his performance. By no means the best we've seen from Jack, but it's nice to know that even when he puts in a performance where he's not necessarily at his best, he's still capable of getting a goal like that. I thought the only player that really could have walked off with their head held high was Tom Heaton.
Fantastic performance.
Unbelievable. Again, without him, I think it could have been 6 or 7 easily. You know, the header from Soyuncu, which I don't know how he saved that, to be honest with you. So a good game for Tom Heaton, but you can pick holes in pretty much everybody else involved, including Dean Smith, who I felt got the game wrong on a few different levels. I'm not sure exactly from you, but Elmo starting when Fred was on the bench just confused me. I mean, I can't see any logic to that one. And so I thought tactically we're slightly inept, but no, I think the team let themselves down because they're a lot better than they showed, I thought, against Leicester. And yes, they're a very good side, but as you said, in the first 20 minutes we proved that we could go toe to toe with them. And I think I was especially disappointed with the fact that obviously we scored the goal just before half time, and instantly we set the tone so wrong for the second half. We had kick-off, and I remember noting this because we had kick-off, we do that play that where we usually play the ball backwards and then play the long ball forward to Wesley. It tends to be what we do from kick-off. That didn't work, and Iheanacho had a shot that went just wide after about 20 seconds of the restart, and you think that's completely set the wrong tone. You know, we needed to come out, keep the ball for just a few minutes, gain some confidence and push ourselves back into the game and try and get that equaliser. But instantly, you know, we lost possession in poor way, and then obviously the Evans header came just shortly after that, and again that was disappointing because the marking was poor on that one. You know, we need to be picking players up. Set pieces yet again our downfall, and these are the kind of instances where I say that we're the architects of our own downfall, because set pieces have been a problem for so many games now. We seem to be speaking about it every week on the podcast that we're struggling to defend crosses and balls into the box, and so again it's proven these are the things which I feel we could have done something about and potentially changed the outcome of the game.
Yeah, it's frustrating, as you said. We talk about it every week, and there's been links today that we've been linked with Vida, of Croatia, and I mean, whilst the defence is a problem, it wasn't at the start of the season. You can coach how to defend set pieces. You don't need to go out and buy someone to solve that problem. That's not an
especially
area.
When you've got John Terry.
Exactly. You'd think. I mean, we kind of seem to be flipping every week of, look at how great he's doing to like this is terrible. But I think as we said, Leicester were going to win anyway. We kind of fuss in that, but I don't think teams now, and especially sort of young players who are coming through the ranks, know how to defend two strikers. Everyone plays a 4-3-3 or a variant of that, with two holders or whatever. But if there's only one striker, so there's always a free centre half. And although we've praised Ezri for the past few weeks, there have been a few holes in his performances, and I think again he's kind of highlighted he's not quite there just yet. But him and Ty, obviously Ty went off injured, really struggled, and then I think Engels is someone who we can say had a good game, but the scoreline obviously doesn't flatter his department. But I thought he came on, he made so many important blocks, but yeah, I don't think we know how to defend against two strikers, especially two pacey strikers. It's usually a big man and a little man. I mean, Kelechi and actually kind of has that sort of the physical presence, but he's also very quick, and there's constant pressure when there's two strikers, as when you're in possession, because they're both going to be chasing you down, and you know exactly what Jamie Vardy's like. And you could see right from the get-go their aim was to sort of pick the ball up, slot it in between the space and the centre halves, and split them, because you've got the strikers, and then that space you've got in the middle is for James Maddison or Dennis Pratt or whoever. It was an obvious game plan, and I think someone again who was poor was probably Marvellous Nakamba. Did not have a very good game, and that's his sort of job, isn't it, to sit in front of the back four and to especially when there is two strikers. When we're out of possession, I mean, obviously I'm not Dean Smith. I don't know how he intends on the players setting his team up, but ideally he's going to be a third centre back. Is he not? Like just in front, and Nakamba was nowhere near the player we've seen of previous weeks, was he?
No, absolutely not. And I think that was shown in the first goal. Wesley lost possession, and Marvellous got nutmegged, which kind of set the tone for his performance really. But Marvellous didn't have a particularly good game though. You're absolutely right. I don't want to scapegoat him, because Leicester are, and that they're so fluid, especially that midfield. And for a holding midfielder, when you've got the likes of Pratt, Maddison, Tielemans, it must be an absolute nightmare to deal with. And so, you can kind of understand it, but just the fundamentals of playing in that position, I thought he lacked it. But as I said, I thought that could be said of pretty much every player, really. To be honest with you, Bjorn, you're right, came in and played well, but we've been kind of talking for a couple of weeks now about how this side potentially looks without Mings in it, should he potentially see the bench, and now that's enforced. I think it's 3 weeks. I don't think he'll play again this calendar year. So the reports have been saying, and so we could get to see that partnership of Bjorn and Ezri, which we've been calling for a few weeks, actually kind of come into fruition, and see what that looks like over a run of games. And we've got a nice run of games coming up now, and so they're going to be tested a little bit less. But as soon as the last Vardy goal, as soon as that ball went over the top, you knew what was going to happen 10 seconds later. The Leicester fans almost started cheering before the ball crossed the halfway line, because he's so clinical, and against the back four like ours, where there are mistakes in, if you give that man a sniff, he will punish you, and he did it twice.
He's one of them players you hate him but you love him, because he's got that sort of that attitude. You want every striker to play like Jamie Vardy. He still plays as if it's a Sunday morning, and he's playing in Sheffield. That's just how he's always been. And a few fans were complaining that he was sort of giving it the can't hear you now, but I mean there were for the first goal when he slipped. If you're going to cheer him, and you got to expect that, and especially when you call his wife a slag, as funny as it was. You know,
well, that's
I don't
what he
think
wants,
can be
isn't it? That's what he wants.
He is the pantomime villain, and he loves that. You know, he'll let you say whatever he wants. He's going to bag goals against you. And what's crazy to think is he's 33. Al Mohammedi's 32. To put that into context,
that's ridiculous, actually. Yeah.
Like,
wow.
And he's you know, right at his peak. Just when you think Jamie Vardy's kind of down and out, you know, in the Puel days, he's almost in the 100 club.
Yeah, and well, what's that? He's, you know, almost at breaking his consecutive goal scoring streak again, isn't it? I think he's up to 8 now, 8 or 9.
And he got to 10.
Yeah, 10. So I mean, a couple more games and he could do it again. But what a player! And when you've got someone like that in your team, you've always got a chance. He's so hungry, and his desire for just being the bad guy and thriving off that is really admirable. And you know, I have to admit, when he scored his second goal, I couldn't help but crack a smile at it because you see how much he absolutely loves it, revels in it, and it's just, you have to appreciate like great players.
Yeah.
By the way, and he is. You know, when players come like that and have that ability and just are that good at what they do, you have to appreciate it. And he's a top caliber striker, one of the best in the Premier League, top scorer in the league, and it's, you know, that's not by coincidence, is it?
No.
A top player, and yeah, I thought Leicester were not at their best. I think I've seen them play better this season. I think if we look at the goals, the second goal was impressive.
Yeah.
These are the goals, as I was saying at the start, that like I conceded that. No problem, because it was a brilliant move. The cross came in. It was great movement from Iheanacho. Just an all-round good goal, and you can appreciate that. But the first goal, it was sloppy by Wes. Marvellous, got nutmegged. Evans wasn't properly marked, and then the last one was just, obviously we were far too high up the pitch to be playing against a striker like Jamie Vardy. You know, if you're playing on the halfway line, Jamie Vardy's going to have you on toast all day long. And so a little bit disappointed with the manner of those goals. But yeah, I think there's a lot I was disappointed with on the day, to be honest with you. I thought Villa Park was really poor. I mean, Leicester fans were chanting 20 minutes into the game that it was a library, and it was. Even before the game, I thought it was quite quiet. I mean, like, I can't speak for all areas in the ground, but where I was, Wesley obviously went off in the first half when he picked up that knock, came back on, and he was booed onto the pitch by people and we cheered Mark Albrighton onto the pitch. Yeah. And if we genuinely got to the point now where we're booing our own players and cheering the opposition, then we've lost already, because once you create an atmosphere like that, it's game over. It
is. I think there's such an emphasis now on sort of support and how good your support is. I saw a tweet yesterday of someone who was, another hot topic on Twitter, complaining about not being able to get an away game. Mm-hmm. But he said he turned up on the day to Watford away in 2001, maybe. I could get this wrong, and he managed to pay on the door, and there was like no one there. I think that's more of a sort of influence through like social media and stuff like that. You know, people are more willing to say that their fans are the best, and you know, obviously we're guilty of that. We we constantly go on about how good we are under the lights and stuff, and how it's a special atmosphere, but it's been shocking, and I think it's something that needs addressing. Mm-hmm. It's all right selling out, but you know, you go to places like Old Trafford, and we're there sort of giving it to the home fans for having a dead atmosphere, you know, but they still sell out. Yeah. I do think Villa fans do need to kind of take a bit of a look at themselves and think how can we back the team, because you know, it's great seeing the numbers there, and I'm sure that does the players wonders, but it's no coincidence that in every preview the Villa have done for every night game, that's the first thing they've mentioned, the support on the night games. If the players can tell, surely the fans can tell. Like, I sit in the north stand, and obviously Wesley came off our end, and I mean, he's such a polarising character, but just because of whatever reasons, because he can't score or people don't rate him or whatever. But you know, I heard the same boos, mm-hmm. and quite frankly, it disgusted me. And you know, if Anwar hits the post, no one seems to talk about that. Mm-hmm. If that was Wesley,
yeah, you can only imagine, can't you?
Like, it's frustrating, and you know, I don't want to you know, sort of say that I don't think Wesley's a bad striker. People know how I feel about Wesley. Yeah. If you listen to the podcast and Dan, it just really gets on my nerves seeing this sort of hate, because And I saw a tweet actually the other day. It was records of other strikers in their first 16 games.
Yeah, I saw the same one.
And obviously the likes of Juan Pablo Angel, Christian Benteke.
It was Carew.
Yeah, and there was someone else. I think maybe it was Wesley in the photo, but and someone was like, yeah, but there were proven goal scorers elsewhere. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Christian Benteke had scored about 7 goals in his entire career before we'd signed him. I don't know what anyone was doing scouting him. They clearly found a gem, but like you can't say, you can say that with hindsight, but it's totally unfair. And there's a video doing the rounds of Wesley's highlights for Bruges, and obviously when we signed Wesley, I sort of looked into what kind of player he was. I was very excited. It's actually one of the most viewed videos on the channel. 12,000 views that got of me just sat in my room in America talking about a player I'd never even heard of, and just my excitement for him. But like Wesley, as you've said before, we're playing long ball to him. He's not that man. He's absolutely not. And I think he's being. It's like, let's put Tom Heaton up front.
Yeah.
And expect him to play like a prime David Villa false 9. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, you need to support Wesley. He plays for Aston Villa. He chose to come to Aston Villa, and it really does get to me. I actually got quite. I mean, my dad is not a Wesley hater, but he said something, and I actually snapped him at the game. I wouldn't talk to him. He really annoyed me because of a criticism he made of Wesley, which I just thought was totally unjustified. At the end of the season, if he's not scored more than 10 goals, maybe you can go, yeah. I think you can start to question it then. We're 16 games into a season, into the most physical and quick league in the world, which Wesley lacks pace. Yeah. So he's going to be fighting an uphill battle anyway. And he's still scored 4. The kid, he needs a chance.
No, you're absolutely right, mate. And you know, I'd tweet it's an unfortunate state of affairs. It really is, mate. And I tweeted after the game that, unfortunately, I just don't think it's going to work out, and I don't think it's Wesley's fault. I don't think it's Dean's fault. I think it's our fault, actually, as fans, mate, because we've created such a negative atmosphere for the kid. Like, and he's a kid. He's 22. Yeah. He's a year older than me, I think, or 23 now. And you know, he's come into a country which must be alien to him. Alien. You know, living in a place like Birmingham, obviously Bruges coming before, and different league altogether. And so, we've created such a negative atmosphere for him. Players read social media nowadays, you know, they are on it, they're active on it. I'm sure Wesley sees the pelters that he gets every week, and mate, I'm going to make a comparison, and it's going to take a little explaining, but just bear with me. So Huddersfield obviously went down last season, and I watched the John Smith every single week. It was packed out, and the fans got behind their team, knowing full well that Huddersfield were going to lose week in, week out, mate. And they still the atmosphere was still good. They had the flags out. The atmosphere was you know, they still packed out the ground, and I think we can learn a lot from that. I think the Ron Saunders tribute, you know, again, not to take this one way, probably came at a bad time, because it's just a reminder of, look at what we were, look at the glory days, look at what this club once was. And when you're showing that before a game, it creates this atmosphere of, look, we're Aston Villa, we're this club that should be going to every home game looking to win games. And that we have to detach from that almost nowadays. We're fighting relegation. These are the realities. Unless we support our team, unless we support all of the players, then we will go down, because Villa Park wasn't a good place to be. If you like,
it wasn't even until like January.
No,
it was still a toxic place to go.
Absolutely,
even with Smith at the helm.
It's not. It's a place where, if it's good, it's an amazing place to be. Like, I will, you know, I'm going to be fair. And some of the Everton game was one of the loudest I've ever heard Villa Park, and so, you know, I said myself that under the lights, Villa Park is a completely different animal. We've said it ourselves. But yeah, I mean, booing Wesley back onto the pitch and then cheering Mark Albrighton on is so many different. Like, I've got no problem in giving Mark Albrighton a good reception, but can we at least give it to our team first? Yeah, you know what I mean?
It's embarrassing, mate, and like, I'm fed up of fighting with people who are usually over the age of 50 about Wesley, because there's no pleasing some people. And as we've sort of said before, Wes could score every single game now for the rest of the season, and people on Twitter will still criticise. And I think it's just a reflection of the modern game and unrealistic expectations, because, as you've said, we're fighting relegation. You know, come the end of the season, if we finish 17th, that is a successful season. Like, but as you said, the atmosphere is dead, and it's such a hard thing to approach, especially when the club are still so closed when it comes to sort of connections with the fans and communicating stuff. It's really hard to get anything across. I mean, I emailed for my assignment and I heard nothing for an under 23s game. So it's one of them things. The communication needs to improve on both parts at Villa Park. It's frustrating because this is going to go out and this may get clipped and I may put this on Twitter. And people are going to take this really personally because I sing and yeah, that's great. So do I. So does Dan. We do that, and and I go home and away, and away atmospheres are definitely better than the home atmospheres. But there's got to be something done about the atmosphere. I mean, there's only so much that Project B6, an initiative like that, can do realistically when it's just him and a handful of volunteers. Seeing the Ron Saunders tribute and stuff, I was kind of thinking, in every game when you see the flags, wouldn't it be great if that was all around the stadium and you can create more of a yellow wall like Dortmund or like a white wall like Madrid, something like that. But fans have to take responsibility for the atmosphere and realise that instead of criticising and having such an entitled view on what Aston Villa should be and where we should be and what players should be doing, is support the 11 that play, and then we will see a change in results. Yep. Even when we went on our 10-game win run, Villa Park weren't full every game. It was getting there, and the atmosphere certainly wasn't electric every game. Just back the team.
Absolutely, no. It's the least you can expect, mate. I mean, this time a year ago, the mere prospect of playing in the Premier League seemed so unlikely, and I, for one, and I don't think many Villa fans do, cherish going to every single Premier League game, mate. Because who knows, it might not even be here next season. It wasn't here last season, the season before that. And I go down to every game now, and you hear the Premier League music before the game. I try and absorb every second, mate, because I've missed this. I really have, and I work turnstiles. No one can say, no one does more for this club on a match day than me. I go down early. I work turnstiles. I love being there, mate. If they ask me to clean the toilets, I do it for them. I do away fans, and every single game. Leicester are a good example because their stadium is very different. Every single game, fans would come in and they talk about the old turnstiles and how historic and what a great stadium it is. And then we never even showed them a mere glimpse of what Villa Park's really like. We only sing when we're winning at home. Yeah. We've got to be honest.
These are some hard truths.
They are, mate, but someone needs to say them because we're under this illusion that Villa Park is this great fortress and it's an intimidating place to come to, but it's not at the moment, unless it's under the lights, which I will make an exception for again. But
and then we draw to West Ham.
Exactly. Support is going to be so key this season, mate. When you look at these clubs, like if we take us and the three clubs beneath us, so Norwich, Southampton, Watford. The difference in our stadium and the support that we can create compared to those clubs is immeasurable. It is such an influence on the team. And Villa Park was, I know we were losing 4-1, but Villa Park was almost empty by about 82, 83 minutes.
A lot of people left before the tribute, which I found quite sickening.
Exactly, mate, and you're right. And Villa Park was almost half empty about 35 minutes because we have the half-time migration. I'm glad all of you that went in at half-time missed the goal. Yeah. Because, I said to myself, as people were walking in, I was like, I hope we score and just miss that. Because, mate, I don't understand that. Everyone complains about the price of going to football games now.
Why leave?
Why would you complain? Everyone complains about the price of going to matches. You go to matches, leave 10 minutes before the start of half to go and pay more to get food for the game you're not watching. I don't understand it. You don't see it at the clubs that generate such good atmospheres. You don't see this sort of stuff happening, and I think as Villa fans, we need to look at ourselves because we can have such a difference on this team's season.
Definitely, and coming up again with a period now of games which will really tell us how our season's going to be. I think we've got a relatively easy run in until sort of February, end of January. Sheffield United though, definitely the most difficult of the bunch. I mean, lost to Newcastle the other week. I mean, no one really expected that, did they? But this is going to be one of our toughest games yet over this Christmas period. And again, I've got to be honest with you, Dan, I'm not filled with a lot of confidence for this game.
No, mate, it's this one. I want to go away. We're better away from home than we are at home, and I think we need to get away from Villa Park actually, just for a game, and go to a perfect example actually of good support at Bramwell Lane. It's every game I've watched at them, I've been impressed with the noise that Bramwell Lane can create, and they are slowly starting to slip down the table from where they were. I think as good as Sheffield United are, and this is not a criticism to them because I so admire what they're doing, but they were never going to finish top six.
It was like Burnley 2 years ago.
Exactly. These things they will slip down the table as push comes to shove. And I'm not particularly hopeful. I can see us losing, but we are a lot better away from home. Our away sport's certainly a lot better. And you feel with that loss to Newcastle and similar kind of slightly disappointing results, then perhaps we can go and get something there. But the team selection is going to be so important. Dean's got to get that absolutely spot on. I saw a terrible lineup yesterday on Twitter, and I'm sorry if this was you. I can't remember your Twitter because I'd love to call you out for it. But it was a team which McGinn was on the right wing, Grealish on the left wing, Horahan in the number 10.
With Jake Doyle-Hayes in there too.
It was El Ghazi and Kodja up front.
Right. Did you find Roberto Di Matteo's Twitter? This is amazing.
I saw this team. I thought, Jesus, we've got no hope. It was this kind of 4-1-2-1-2 demon, an absolute behemoth. God, I can't even. Terrible. So we've got to get the lineup right. Hopefully, Dean won't be looking for Twitter for his answers.
Definitely won't be looking at this podcast for the
Jesus.
answers.
But we've got to change a lot about our performance, and the intensity of that game has got to be high. And if we don't match that like we did against Leicester, then we've got another defeat coming our way.
I mean, how do you beat a team that has overlapping centre backs?
It's frightening, isn't it?
It's a joke. Like, what even is that? Like,
oh yeah, it's refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah,
tactically to see that.
But how do you combat that? You don't. I mean, if we take a look back at games where we've played Sheffield United, 2-2 at home, where Clayton Donaldson scored and morphed into Messi. And then the 1-0 away from home, Robert Snodgrass, last minute. I don't think I've been to a better game in my life. I mean, it was the worst game of my life, but it was the best sort of limbs,
for sure.
And then at their place last season, 4-1 right at the start, great goal from El Ghazi, and then obviously the historic 3-3, where Villa Park poured out and about 12,000 Villa fans made as much noise as 35,000 did for the whole evening. It's going to be really tough. Bramwell Lane, one of my favourite away grounds to go to. It helps I've got a place to stay there as well. It's literally just round the corner. But it's a system that, and we kind of touched on this in the last podcast in how to combat Leicester. Clearly my approach didn't work. And I'd like to say actually as well that to anyone sort of listening thinking, hang on, he doesn't have a clue about Leicester. Yeah, Leicester played narrow, but when they're chasing the game, they go wide and the wingers come on and they change it all completely. So I wanted to clear that. No one mentioned it in the comments. It was bugging me from when I saw them. I was like, I should have mentioned that the wingers come on. You can't match Sheffield United's formation because we don't have the personnel for it. I mean, the only way realistically I see us getting something from this game is going to be a 4-3-3, and it will have to be a traditional 4-3-3 with wingers who are going to pull the centre halves out of position, and you've got to have your full-backs bombing on and putting pressure on their wing backs, but that's going to be quite hard, especially when you've got such a fraudster like Matt Targett in your team. He's going to have an absolute nightmare. So for me, I'd be moving Jack more into the middle. You've got to play Trez and El Ghazi, and whoever he plays up top, whether that is Wesley, whether it's Kodja, or Indiana Vasilev, or whatever his name is from the academy, which there's been calls for. There has to be constant pressure with the wingers on the three centre backs, and you want to sort of isolate them and drag them with you. Even looking at the Leicester game, you know, when we had sort of attacks and stuff down the wing, especially more on Anwar's side, Soyuncu was always coming out. Now if you can remain composed and someone makes that, you know, there's space to be exploited there. He got away with so much, just constantly coming out and making slide tackles or whatever, when he didn't really need to. He's a fantastic centre half, but he wasn't maybe he was, because he was winning tackles and stuff, but maybe we weren't reading the game that well. So, you know, you've got to get these centre halves into positions where you can exploit them, and you know, you look at that team, and man for man, you'd like to think Villa have the quality, but it's the team spirit and how they play, and we just don't have that. No. And that's why they'll probably get something.
Yeah, no, that's all it is. It could well just come down to what team wants it more at the end of the day. And, you know, to bring it back to Jamie Vardy, that's the reason that, you know, it's just that hunger that we just couldn't match. Could well be our downfall again. You know, as for kind of who plays up front, the fact that in games like Leicester we don't turn to Kodja, that Wesley doesn't come off and we try Kodja, so just tells you all you need to know about that situation between, you know, what's going on with Kodja and Dean. It will be Wesley up front, you know, and I hope it's Wesley up front for every game until the end of the season, because we have bought a striker who, you know, has cost a lot of money, who plays for Brazil. I mean,
national team.
These things speak for themselves, and we have to sit with him. Vasilev, I saw him doing well, and shout out to the under-23s, by the way, because first 2 games at their new place, I think they've won both of them.
Yeah. Scored a lot of goals as well.
Absolutely, I saw quite a few people getting down to the games, and so that's good. A real highlight. Probably, you know, one of the better things going on at the club at the moment is that new build and everything that's going on there. So well into that. But I mean, Wes has got a start, and you know, there are a few others. John McGinn, people have been starting to look at and question whether he should be starting. But these are the games now where I actually think perhaps we need to be starting John McGinn, maybe more than ever, because for all of John McGinn's positives, and there is so aplenty, he's got such a wonderful array of talent. His close control actually isn't very good. His first touch from time to time.
Wesley's better.
Wow, there it is. I agree with you, but one way saying Villa Twitter is a meltdown.
This won't be clipped.
No. But John's close control isn't very good, and so in these nip and tuck games where we're right up against it, against a side who is better, and the games are so cagey, John McGinn's maybe not the best player, but actually in these games where it's going to be a little bit more open, players are going to get a bit more time on the ball. These are the games where perhaps John's influence grows, and perhaps he starts to show us the player that he was at the start of the season, when I was starting to question whether he was better than Jack Grealish in this side. And I want him to regain that. It's good that we'll not have a week. Because these players need a rest.
Definitely.
And hopefully we can go with a fresh attitude, a positive one. Go to Bramall Lane, because they are a side that we can go and beat. Let's not forget. You know, we are speaking negative about this, but if we have a good day and we play our best football, we can go and easily beat the side. And then we've got the bottom 3 after that consecutively, and so, you know, if we can go and get a good result at the weekend, then it puts us into those 3 games in a real good state of mind, and you know, if we can go and take 7 to 9 points from those 3 games, then
puts you in a really healthy position.
Absolutely, and this is the period that defines our season, because I looked at our running the other day, and our kind of last 5 or 6 games are just as tough as the 5 or 6 that we've just gone through. It's really hard. I think we end with Arsenal at home, West Ham away, and so for the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season, you could be looking at picking up no points, and so. This league's just getting tougher every week. I mean, we're looking to their Ancelotti coming in potentially at the Everton.
Yeah.
You know, and this seems with the manager appointments that go out, with the exception of Nigel Pearson, the appointments just seem to make this league tougher and tougher every week. And so the earlier that we get these points, the better.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I want to touch on, I think we need to get this trending on Twitter, is justice for Hawks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've contacted your agent, Courtney, about an interview, and I've heard nothing. Right, but you know, we'll forgive you on that because we want you starting.
We do.
This is a Courtney Horse propaganda podcast.
Just someone to stop the goals going in, please.
Anyway, I mean, he could. I think. I know we kind of spoke briefly about maybe Engels and Conson. We've definitely spoke about that in previous weeks. Engels and Horse. You've got balance. You've got a right footer. You've got a left footer.
Yep.
You've got a rapper, and you've got Engels. And he needs to play. Even left back. I'd play him left back over Matt Targett. I can't say some of the things I said about Matt Targett in the stadium. I really can't on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean,
and by the way, very lucky man not to get sent off.
Very lucky. Very.
I mean, the disrespect to Ricardo Pereira as well. Disrespect.
17 million. I think Matty cast us, and how much was Fred? Like 3 or 4, something like that.
Yeah.
Like it was like.
And we signed him in the Championship.
There is much better, but yeah, I mean, to kind of conclude this, I suppose there was a great tweet I saw on Twitter. I think we've got the 4th worst defence in the league. We've conceded the most goals from set pieces and crosses, but of course it's Wesley's fault, isn't it?
Yeah. What a perfect note to end this podcast on, Dan. Before we do end though, score prediction. Are we going to go?
I'm going to go Sheffield United 2, Aston Villa 2.
I'd take that. Do you know what? I'm going to go with that. I'm going to try and remain optimistic. I'm saying Super Jack.
Well, someone's got to remain optimistic. So
yeah.
It seems it's got to be us, doesn't it?
Definitely. I mean, we're surely going to take powers for this, but whatever. It's just going to. I'm really looking forward to the game, but I'm also not at the same time. It's just one of them things. I hate to say it, but you know, watching the Villa at the moment's been a bit tough. But,
absolutely.
Things will get good.
We do it every Saturday, regardless.
I mean, you've got to do it, mate, haven't you? You've got to. So if you guys enjoyed the podcast, hit the like button, comment your thoughts below on all things that we've discussed on Wesley. In fact, no, don't comment on Wesley. Let us know your prediction for the game. We don't want to hear you if you've not got a Wesley thing. You know, that's something as well I want to talk about. I kind of put out a tweet pro Wesley, and someone was like, "Oh, you can't say anything these days." No, it's just not. You know, if it's constructive, we'll accept it. It's not though.
Absolutely.
But before this descends into another Wesley rant, subscribe if you did enjoy it. Any final words from you, Dan?
Yeah, shout out to Kappa for that glorious warm-up kit. That was the best thing about the weekend. That is an absolute stunner. I don't think it's going on general sale, which is a crying shame.
It is.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
It's about 40 quid though.
Brilliant news.
But you know,
I didn't know that.
Amazing.
So shout out to Kappa. Absolutely.
Real good synergy there with Pride Week and what we're doing.
I think that was the only thing that went well at the weekend. That was quite nice.
That was.
So
Douglas looked good in that.
He did. That picture is serious sauce, mate.
That
so
is.
Up the Kappa. Well done, guys.
Up the Kappa and up the Villa.
Chest is essential. The fulfilling this got potential. It's the main man, a hero. He's the main leader of the gang. Chester. 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 He's the main leader of the gang now. Chester.